Welcome everyone to another edition of Control Command. We are in the Foundation First series again today, talking about the Referrals app inside of Command, helping you connect to agents and close more deals in your world and getting you to do some of that KW referral business. And there are even ways to have you use this tool with outside referrals as well. And we're going to go over all kinds of different ways to utilize this tool. Before we get into anything deeper, I do need to mention the TCPA. Please follow the rules around the Telephone Consumer Protection Act. And remember that this does include business to business calls, which would include talking to other agents. And so be aware of the rules and when you are or not in the TCPA in that world, because complying with the TCPA is not that hard as long as you understand the TCPA. We have plenty of resources for this in our market centers and our offices. If you're watching this on YouTube, reach out to your leadership team so that you can get some help around this if you need it. And here at KW, we have some great material for this. If you're in my market center, just reach out to me and I'm happy to share some of the resources if you need some help finding it. All right, that is the housekeeping for today. Let's get into what we're going to get into for the Referrals app. And you see on the screen, we have three main topics that you want to be able to utilize within this app. Number one is research. There is going to be some information that you can get around where you want to get referrals. Also, you're going to be able to do research on who's out there and finding the right agent. And that's where we'll get into targeting the right agent and really finding the person that's best for your client that you are referring to, or finding people that would make great referral partners. Maybe you don't have a referral right now, but that connection with that other agent, you can grow that relationship to then build that partnership where referrals are going both ways between both of you. And finding those agents has never been easier than when you use the Referrals app. And then finally, I'm going to show you how to send referrals through the applet, as well as track referrals that you've sent or received inside of the Command Referrals applet, which also connects into the Opportunities applet as well. And we'll mention that towards the end, and we'll wrap up with some Q&A. And again, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat if you're here live. If you're watching on YouTube, drop them in the comments. I'll be watching and filtering for different comments after this video is posted. So I will be responding. So don't hesitate. And I promise, if you stick with me over the next hour, you are going to learn something about Command that is going to help your business. I promise you will. And so stick around. We'll only be here for about 45 minutes to an hour, and we'll get you all out of here. And so let's start. Before we get into any of the tool, let's make sure we're all on the same page around why we should use this tool. Because giving and receiving referrals is something that can be a huge part of your business. In fact, I know agents that over 50% of their business in GCI comes from referrals. And there's no easier way to earn a commission than sending somebody's information to another agent to go do all that work. And so referrals from another agent are almost always a hot lead. And so receiving them is awesome because it's usually somebody who's going to do business very soon. And it takes less time than cold lead prospecting, chasing those down, following up and following up. Referrals usually come to us with a very ready to go mindset that generally don't get referred out when they're just thinking about doing something. And so it's a great way to expand your business, make a little bit more money as well without having to do as much work, because these are high pay scenarios with very little effort. And you can get an advantage here, y'all. I'll tell you that I know that there are over 1 million people scheduled to move to Colorado over the next 5 to 10 years. This is going to be a huge segment of people moving into Colorado, as well as people moving out of Colorado, because in 2025, we just saw for the first time that the number of people leaving was more than the people coming in. That happened for the first time in 2025. We've seen those numbers in Colorado. And so be aware of this. People are coming in and out of the state at a high rate. And these are people that you can capitalize on, because there's a good chance you know some of those people. And if you can refer the business out or receive the business in, it is a great way to make extra money. So let's get into the tool. Number one is utilizing this tool for research. Research in terms of the referral patterns that are happening within KW. It's going to show us how referrals are moving. Are referrals coming into Denver from other states at higher rates than the other states in the United States? Well, we're going to see that. And we can see referrals coming into Denver and referrals going out of Denver so we can see what are those patterns look like and where should we have agents if we know that there are a lot of people leaving to a certain state or coming in from a certain state. We're also going to see your network on the map in there so you can see where your coverage is. And then finally, we'll see how to connect with different agents and how to use the map to find new agents, to see what kind of business they're doing, where they're doing business. All of that is in here. And we're going to jump into a demo now of showing you how to utilize all of these different tools inside of referrals. So I'm going to jump over to command now. You see, I've logged into command. Easiest way to get there is just agent.kw.com. Jump into your site, sign in, and then the first place we're going to go is down here to the referrals applet. Looks like a little raindrop that's upside down with a person in it. It is the, I think, fifth or sixth one down. Remember, you can always click the red KW to open up the tray, and we can just click on the referrals app and click the red KW to close it up. And inside here, we are dropped onto our dashboard. This is where we will see all of our current network and any referrals in our pipeline. It's just kind of a place where you can see a lot of what's going on inside of the referrals applet, but we need to use these three tabs up at the top to really get the value out of this tool. And so the first place we're going to go for our research is the map. So we'll click on map. And when I want to look at the referral patterns, I'm going to change it from production as the option here in our map. And we're going to change that to referral patterns. And we're going to go through all of these today, but we'll start down at the bottom in referral patterns. And it's going to default to Austin, Texas. So the thing I'm going to start with is let's get ourselves to Denver, Colorado, where we are here today. And you can see it's going to default to showing us where people are leaving Denver from. And it's you see all these arrows and the little red markers across the map, but the real value is over on the right side of the screen, where this is showing us where or what percentage of referrals left Denver. So pretty good assumption. Denver, the most referrals are going to other Denver agents. These are most likely competency referrals, making sure that we are working within our expertise. So these are like referrals around commercial or mobile homes or any other kind of specialty. You could assume that's where these are coming from. In Springs, Lakewood, those are all kind of make sense in that same reasoning. But then you see the first state that is outside of Colorado that people are leaving to is Scottsdale, Arizona. And Arizona, you're going to see comes up quite a bit. Our second most is Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so that right there tells us people are leaving at a higher rate from Denver and moving to Scottsdale and moving to Albuquerque more than other places in our list. Those are the most common places people are leaving from. Now, you may also want to see where people are coming in from as well. And all we're going to do to see that is up at the top of the map, we have these two options of sent and received. We're currently looking at the sent referrals that left Denver. Let's look at the ones that are coming into Denver. And so we'll switch to received. Now you can see it's kind of hard to see probably on your screens, but you see all the arrows are now pointing towards Denver instead of away, indicating that these are received. And here's where you really see the state that you need to have some referral connections in with other agents because Tucson, Prescott, Scottsdale, Phoenix, and then Goodyear are five out of the top six of the referral cities from leaving Denver. We see a lot of people move to Arizona out leaving Denver. That is great information. I also want to note Georgia is always on near the top of the list for us. Atlanta is normally the place people are going. Las Vegas will always be up there. Georgia again, Austin, Texas is usually in that top 10 or 15, but we can see there's definitely some states, Arizona, Georgia, possibly Alaska. Alaska's always up there in our top 10. I'm not exactly sure why we have so many referrals going from Anchorage into Denver. My guess is oil and gas probably has some people moving from those two places. But you can see this gives you a start of knowing where are people coming from and into our city versus where people are leaving our city from and going. You get all this information so that you can start utilizing it. And the first step is to have connections to people in these areas. And this is where you can find this information is on this map. And so after you've utilized some referral patterns, you might want to check to see, well, where do I have connections now? Because you can actually create connections with other agents through your network inside of the referrals app. And so let's start with just looking at my personal network, because you're going to see a list of all the people I'm connected to and where they exist in the country. So you see, I have a partner up in Seattle, in Portland, Salt Lake, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Austin, Kansas, Kentucky. I have all these different partners. I have a couple more in Florida, North Carolina, Maryland. I can see where I have coverage, and these are people in my network, which you'll notice up here at the top of the screen, we have a full tab dedicated to my network as well. So let's click in there and check out my network. This is my almost like a database of other agents that I've connected with. You can see in here, I can even tag those agents with different tags. It's as simple as just bring it in. They might be a luxury agent. And I want to, these tags are more for the visual side of things. There's no filters or anything that we can do with the tags on this menu, but we can at least have this visual filter to know if they're luxury, maybe they speak another language. There are a lot of ways to just easily identify information about them utilizing these tags. And the list doesn't have a limit. You can see I have about 60 people in my list. I can see multiple, and these people jump in here. And you can see there's also the send referral button next to any of those people. So I can easily send that referral over to them. We'll go through doing that here in a little bit. Let's jump back over to our map. We're looking at our network. And what I want you to see here is not only where you have people, but also where you don't have people. Because you'll notice I only have some folks in Phoenix, but nobody in Tucson. I don't really have Phoenix as well covered. So I may want to come in here and see if I can find some more agents. Well, one place to start is looking at market centers in the area. And I'll be honest, y'all, I don't use this filter too often unless I'm traveling to that place. When I am traveling somewhere and I want to go find a KW market center to visit, so that I can get to know some of the agents there and make that a nice little business trip. Well, I can come in here and identify where all the market centers are in an area. You can see this is pretty densely covered. It's not always like that in every major city, but Phoenix is a pretty heavily populated place and has multiple market centers. So that's one way you can get some more connections, especially if you're ever traveling. You can find where the market centers are in an area. But then let's go to our last filter in here. And this one, I probably use this one the most, y'all, is the production side. Because what this is going to show us is everyone who produced or basically sold a deal in this area will show up here. But the first thing you see is no one showing up. Well, all that takes is we just need to zoom into the map a little bit. And then you'll start seeing the production of different agents pop up in the map. And over on the right side of the screen over here, we'll see the names of everyone that's included in the current maps area. So if I want to find an agent that is working in Phoenix, I can see all these different people that have closed a deal in this area that the map is currently on. And we can come over here. First thing I want y'all to notice is this just sorts them randomly. Doesn't put any kind of order to them, but we can choose a different sort if we would like, from first name, last name. But I really like utilizing some of these business filters of closed units or listing sold, buyer sides. If I'm looking for a listing agent or a buyer agent, it just kind of depends, or leases. But I will just use a units closed option. And then it will think and reformat my list with, we see Brett Tanner is the one that's closed the most deals, where I can click on that little arrow, get a little information about Brett. I can see that Brett runs a team, Elite Home Advisors, and then I can see how many units they've done. Units in this area, 58, total closed units, 855. So they're a pretty big team. They're not just closing in Phoenix. I'd guess they probably work quite a bit in that southern Arizona area with that many closings. But I mention this because I always want to know when I'm working with a referral partner, hey, Brett, if I send you a referral, Are you going to work with them, or is someone on your team going to work with the person I send you? And that's not saying it's bad to work with a team member. I just want to be able to set up my client that I'm referring to them appropriately. So I can set up expectations nicely. And this just helps me get Brett's phone number, his information. I always recommend calling these people before you send the connection request, because to connect to another agent that you find, you'll just see right here, there's that little plus sign button. And when I click on it, this is going to connect me to Brett, give him a request from me saying, "Hey, I'm trying to get to know you, Brett." And I can put a little message in here that he can read when he receives that request. And if he accepts it, he'll now then be in my network of referrals, just like you saw those other 59 people. And so that's how you can start building connections. But I will be honest with y'all, a lot of agents don't use this tool very often and they'll miss those referrals. So I always, always, always recommend that you just grab their phone number from right over here in their information and give them a call. Have a couple of questions to ask them to see if they are open to a relationship. The first question I always ask a referral partner in these cases is, are you looking for a connection in Denver? Because if their brother is a real estate agent in Denver, they're probably not going to send me any referrals, and I'm going to move on to somebody else that I think I'm going to get more referrals from, not just somebody to send referrals to, because it should be a two-way street there where it's a partnership, not just a one-way street where I'm sending them referrals. And so utilize this tool to get to that information. You can see the contact information. You can see some other pieces if they're a luxury agent. If they speak another language, you'll also find that in here. You can see that Brett here only speaks English, but you can find people who speak other languages. You can find people who are solo, luxury. There are a lot of ways to go through all of this information to find the right agent for your people. And so the production page can be really, really effective. We can do it in any part of the state. We're only in Phoenix because that's where we were looking before. But if we wanted to go to Austin and look up the production of agents in Austin, we just pull that up. And remember that usually the map pulls up and it doesn't pull up production. So if it doesn't, just zoom in a little bit and then it will pull up the production. You can see when I zoomed out, the production goes away. So if I just zoom in a little bit, it can get more exact and find those people for me and get me to my list to be able to find my referral partner in wherever we are looking. All right. Before I move any further, are there any questions about the referral patterns, my network, or finding other agents in the production choice there that we have? Any questions pop up yet? All
Hi,
right. Looks like
Stephen.
we,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
Beverly, go
Hi.
ahead.
So in the map, some of the, I guess, pin drops are red, and you have the ones that are in green. What's the green ones for?
So the green ones are closings. The red ones, I'm not sure what the red ones are representing. I would guess it is the address that that agent has set as their business address, which is
Okay.
probably their home. That's my
Okay.
guess, because the red ones are new. And when I click on them, you can see it looks like it's just clicking into an agent, which tells me that's probably something associated with that agent's information, so that I can see where they live ish, or at least where their business is set up.
All
Good question.
right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions popping up for anybody? All right. Let's talk about
So,
targeting agents.
sorry,
Oh,
Stephen. I couldn't find the unmute button because it's on my phone. Quick question.
yeah.
Can we look for a specific person on there?
Yeah, you can. So it takes a little bit. You can't just so where it won't work is if I'm really zoomed out like this,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to pull in any agents. But as if you know
Okay.
where the agent is, like if you know that there's an agent in Austin that you're looking for, what I would do is I would pull up Austin, where I'm pretty sure that they
Mm-hmm.
would have a closing, and then I would come up here and we can just search for their name up here. So I'll look for
Okay.
John. Let's see if a John pulls up. Let's see, John, and there's a John and a John and a Johnston. So yeah, I would just search for their name at that point. The other way that you
Okay.
might do it, Nini, is if I
Mm-hmm.
click on my network, I can just search for that person right here. So if maybe I'll look for
Okay.
you, Ninive, and then you can see down here, it'll say, well, no one in your network has that name, but we found this out of network person, and there you are, Ninive Aguayo. And then I can easily just click on that connection. Let's connect. Definitely send a better message than that. I am just doing an example for y'all. And now Nini will receive that invitation almost instantly. She'll get an email about it saying, hey, there's been a referral request. She'll get a notification in command up here, um, where the little bell notification is that says Stephen Delicio is trying to connect with you. And then you will be able to accept or deny my request to be a
Okay.
in-network partner.
Okay, cool.
Great
Thank you.
question.
Do you recommend, like, if you're wanting to like target Tucson, for example, because there's a lot of people moving to Denver here, like blasting a bunch of agents in that area?
No,
That
I don't.
okay.
And there is a way to kind of blast agents. We're going to talk about it here in a moment, but I do not recommend blasting agents or trying to get as many connections as possible. Some agents do try and do that inside of the applet, and they usually fall on deaf ears, Katie, I think, because if it seems too generic, people won't connect. And I have never made a good connection to send a referral without actually speaking to the person. I always talk to them, call them, and I would say use this to get 3 or 4 candidates to interview over the phone. Good questions. What else is popping up, y'all?
And is the point kind of to be a little bit choosy? Because you don't just want to pick anybody, like you want your referral to be somebody who's going to be a solid agent.
Exactly, Allison. That's exactly what I'm trying to establish here is that I don't want just anybody because I have a high expectation for who my clients work with and their experience, and I want to make sure that whoever they're going to can meet my expectation. And that's what I mean by having some interview questions. Is I ask them process questions. Do you have a TC? Do you have leverage? Do you have an admin? Because a solo agent working by themselves doing everything is a different experience for the client when they have a full TC admin backing them up behind them. And so I'm always asking those questions to make sure that their structure, their systems, their models are in line with what I expect them to be able to do. Awesome, y'all. Keep them coming if you have them. All right. Are we ready to talk about targeting agents? Because a lot of our questions here are about finding more specific agents. And there's a way that we can dial in who we're looking for, not just by area. So we can filter by languages. If you're looking for a Spanish speaker, we can actually tell the system, show me all the people who say they speak Spanish. Show me the people who have closed more than 10 listings in this specific area. Show me people who have worked with buyers or that their specialty. Maybe you're looking for somebody who is a military client and you want to pair them with a military agent. And we have all of those options. And all you're going to do is in this same map that we're in, you might have noticed right next to the search bar we talked about, there's this filter button. So if we click on filters, this is where I can start filtering for certain things. For instance, being able to speak Russian. I want an agent that speaks Russian, and we'll see if there's any in this map view. Russian is a pretty rare one to find, but you may need a language support like that. And so Russian can be it. I will tell you Spanish is the most prevalent that we see as a second language spoken here at Keller Williams, but you will find agents that speak all kinds of languages across the nation. We can also do production filters. So if I do want somebody who's sold at least 10 buy sides in this area, I can apply that filter, and then it will only show me people who have closed that many deals or buy sides, excuse me, not just deals, but buy sides in that area. And you can see here, Casey has sold 136. Or maybe I'll sort this by closed units, and so we can really get all the top producers at the top. And I'm not saying I'm always looking for a top producer. Often I'm not looking for the top producer. I'm looking for somebody a little bit more in the middle that's hungry and ready to go work and wants to like I said, meet the expectation that I set with my clients and that they can do the same job I could if I was down there. And so we can find all these people. Another filter I use quite often are these specialization filters: land, commercial, military. KWYP stands for Keller Williams Young People. It's one of our communities that we have here that is for agents under the age of 40, I believe. And so that's just another network. I often use the Maps Mastery client filter, because if somebody is a part of Maps Mastery, that means they have a coach. And to be honest, it means that they can pay $1,000 a month to a coach, which tells me that they're probably running a pretty healthy business if they can afford that budget. And so I will often use that Maps filter, because I know that people who are in Maps coaching generally are a higher level. They have better customer experiences, better systems and models and leverage support. And so I will use that Maps filter quite often to really just get to the agents that are really about running a business and not just about having a real estate job, which often too many agents just treat this as just a job and not a professional career. And these Maps clients generally are very serious, very, very good agents. And so that's a filter I love to use. And you can utilize these filters in any way that you find fit for you, whether it's production, language, or specialization. All of them can help you get down to the right person, and you can see how simple and easy it really is to utilize the tool to do so. And so targeting people, not that hard at all. We went through how to add a person to our network already. We discussed the My Network page, which we'll get back to in a moment. But now let's talk a little bit about sending referrals, because that's really the important part here. It's great to be able to do the research and find people, but if you're never sending them a referral, well, you're never going to make any money from this strategy. But sending, and you can track referrals as well, because the first part, that if you haven't caught on to this, the only people who have access to this system are KW agents. So the people that you see in there are only KW agents. You're not going to find a Coldwell Banker agent in our production map to show those other outside agents. So you can't send a referral through this system to a person that isn't at KW. And some market centers, this is a completely fine form for compliance, where they can take the command agreement that is inside. But some market centers still want the paper form done. It just depends on who you're working with, y'all. I know market centers in Colorado that command is fine. And I know market centers in Colorado that they want the paper form on top of command. And so just make sure to communicate with the KW market center that you're working with in the referral. But we can always start here, because the sending process through this is really, really nice and much better than the paper process. We're going to talk a little bit about broadcasting referrals, which I don't really recommend, but I'm going to show you the tool because it's available. And then last, tracking referrals. Tracking referrals is for those referrals that you're sending out of KW, but you still want to be able to track it inside of KW. And that can happen. It's a very light tracking, but it is the ability to track. You can take notes, you can update it so that you have a record or a place to put that information outside of just the contact's record, because it doesn't really belong in the contact record, because we want to keep information about the contact in there, not information about a deal. But this will all be tied to that contact and is really easy to use. So sending a referral. Anytime you see this little arrow pointing out of the box, that is the button to send a referral. So if I wanted to just send one to Kelsey Osborne, I can click on that button. You see it puts Kelsey in as the agent, and then I can fill out the rest of my referral. And we'll go into more detail here in a moment around the rest of this. I can do it through this page. I can go into my network, and you will see that I have a similar button on my network page, where if I find the person I want to send it to, I have a send referral button. Now, you'll notice whenever I hit send referral on these, the agent already populates in there for me. But if I come up to the top, I have a new referral button where I can just click new referral, where the agent section is blank. Here's the thing though, y'all. When I'm coming in here and I'm typing in an agent, it's only going to look for agents that are in my network. So Ninive has not accepted my request yet. And so I can't send her a referral through this form. I have to only search for people who are already in my network, like Brian Bernard is in my network, and you'll see him show up when I type his name in. If they're not in your network, you can click Find Agent, and it's just going to toss you over into the map that we already discussed. So it's the same thing in here. We can search for this specific person by name, or we can go through the filters and find them. But that's how it's going to first ask you to connect with them. If you want to send a referral without the My Network connection, that's when you use this option here, where I can send it to Scott without Scott being in my referral network. I can still send him that referral through this page. Scott's going to be here next week talking about, he's going to be talking at the Rocky Mountain Summit next week. Scott Maloof is going to be there. Hope you all can make it to the Rocky Mountain Summit this year. All right. Let's see. So let's talk about sending a new referral. So first thing I'm going to do is set the agent that I want to send it to. And we'll see if Nineveh is in there yet. There she is. And then next step is simple. Buyer, seller, tenant, or landlord. You're going to choose which one it is. We'll do a buyer. And then this is the part that I love. It's this easy to change your referral fee. There is no standard referral fee in real estate. You can charge whatever you like or whatever your partner agrees with. I generally like to start high because they can counter your referral request. And so we'll set the referral fee to 40%. I can choose my acceptance deadline, and you can determine what's appropriate for you. I normally, by default, do a 48-hour acceptance deadline. You can put in the min price or the price minimum and maximum if you know it. If you don't, you can see there's no red asterisk on here, so we don't need this information, but it can be helpful to send those notes over. Now, everything above this little gray line is what they will see when they receive the referral. So they'll see the fee, they'll see your min and max and your notes, but they will not see is the client information that's down here at the bottom. They only see the client information once they've accepted the referral. Okay, so that protects yourself from them getting the information, which again, that's the downside to a paper form. I could steal your referral if you send me their information and then ask me to sign it. Well, I could never sign it and just steal their information from you. It's not ethical, but it happens. And this protects you from that happening because now when it says client info, I just search for one of my clients. So I'm going to search up here for my friend Stephen D. And then I just click their name and it drops in the information from their record. If you have a phone number, it's going to put it in there. If you have their client address, it'll drop in there. I only had an email for this person, which you'll see is the minimum information needed for a contact is their email to be sent as a referral. I can add in some other information, pre-approval, pre-qualified. I have to put in their desired location. So we'll put in there Austin, Texas. And then I can add their phone number in. And again, the person I'm sending this to does not see any of the client information until they've accepted the referral. Because when they receive this, they're going to have the option to reject, accept, or counter. And the counter is only going to be about the referral fee. So they can send back your counter and say, well, it started at 40. And they say, well, I'll do it for 35. And then I get to reject, accept, or counter their referral response. And so it's a really nice process. Again, I recommend you talk to them before you do this. If you're doing this blind and they don't know it's coming, they'll often miss it. So I will call them before I send it, go over this stuff. I usually just negotiate the referral fee on the phone personally because it's easier, but I can do it through the counter process if you'd like to. Makes it really, really simple. And Nini, I am going to send this over to you, but I don't, you don't have to accept it. I just want to send it so that you guys can see the next part here because the tracking of these referrals all happens in the My Referrals tab. Because if I click on here, every referral I've ever sent through command exists in here. And so this is a really nice way to keep on top of these different referrals. We can see there's a couple of different filters for the status of the referral: rejected, canceled, lost, funded, meaning that they actually got paid, active, meaning that there have not been lost or funded, so they are just currently active, and then pending. Well, pending is the one I just sent to Nini. And we can scroll down here. Let's see, she'll probably be at the bottom somewhere. Let's see, newest, let's reset to newest. Nope, doesn't look like it's updated quite yet for my pendings. Come on. There it is. Pending in for Nini, where you can see there's the timeline from the 48-hour countdown. I can come in here and view the activity log, which you can see for right now. All it is just that the referral was sent. But if there's a chain of counters and back and forth, you'll see that log all in here. And then you can also hit send update, where I can write a message, new message, and that will be tied into the referral. You can see in here, if I click over to the notes and updates section, this is where, when I refresh this page, to get that note in there, let's try that again. There we go, notes, and there's my new message piece, which Nini will be able to see that message as well on the same screen on her side of things. So I can see my sent referrals, I can see my received referrals, all inside here. And very, very simple to be able to just manage all of these. There's also a filter over here. So if you just want to see, show me just my seller client types, and I apply, and then boom, now I only see the seller referrals that I've sent or received in this case. And so this can be helpful for managing your referrals. One of the other parts that you won't see it on the screen, but I want to mention it, is when that referral is accepted, when you guys are both in KW Command, when that referral is accepted, or when Nini accepts that referral, she's going to get a prompt on the screen that says, do you want to create an opportunity? And an opportunity is like a deal. That's our compliance section, but also our business pipeline. And when that opportunity is created, I, as the referring agent, will receive an email that says opportunity has been created. And then every time that opportunity moves to a new stage, so just to give you guys the visual, if this is my referral, every time it moves from appointment to active, or active to under contract, or under contract to closed, I, as the referring agent, will get an email automatically. Nini doesn't have to do this herself, but I'll get an email from Nini's command saying Charlie Crockett has moved to active. And then after he moves from active to under contract, I'll get an email as well. As long as Nini is moving the opportunity along the business pipeline, I'll get an update every time it moves into a new phase, so that I know what's going on with the referral without Nini having to update me every time manually. And so that is a really nice feature that, again, the paper referral form will never be able to do. All of these connecting pieces to help you track and manage your referrals after you've sent them. Now, the last thing that I mentioned was tracking the referrals that don't go through command with another agent. So an agent that's at Coldwell or EXP or some other brokerage that's not KW, well, we can still track that. So if I sent a paper form out to somebody outside of KW, I'm going to come in here and hit track referrals, where I can list the agent's name. I'm going to put an agent in here that I know is at a different brokerage. And I'm going to just say if it was an incoming that Jose sent to me, or outgoing, something I sent to Jose. I can track either of those. We'll say this is an outgoing referral I sent to Jose. We'll say that we signed it at 35%. Don't need the acceptance deadline for this situation. And then we'll connect the contact that is associated with it. And we'll put in my pops here, Mark Delicio. And then we can go through, have the information in there. And then when I save it, oh, client's desired location, Pueblo, save. And then now I will have another referral in the My Referrals section that I can track. We're working a little faster than command here today. There we go. There's Jose. And then this one, notice this one says tracked right here, telling me that this is not an internal KW referral, but one that is out of the state or out of KW. So I just know that. And you can see over here, I have a similar one that it's tracked, and then all the same things apply, except for that whole opportunity piece. That's not going to happen because they're not at KW, so they don't have an opportunity to move. But I can still view the activity log. I can put updates in there for myself. Jose's not going to see any of this because he's at a different brokerage, but this is just for me to be able to track and monitor. I can put in updates as Jose updates me, If Jose loses the deal, I can mark it as lost, or when I get paid, I'll mark it as funded. So I can stay on top of these, make sure that things aren't falling through the cracks, because I can easily see all of my opportunities and referrals right in here. All righty. Let's see. How are we doing on time? Perfect. Let's see. Oh, last but not least is, well, last and least is the broadcast referrals. And I say this because it's a useful tool in the right situation. I just don't run into this situation very often. And so what a broadcast referral is like a referral, but it sends it out to multiple people that will receive it instead of just a single person receiving that referral opportunity. So let's make an example. Say I have a person that is wanting to move to Hayes, Kansas. Let's do Hayes. And in Hayes, we can see there's not a ton of people out there, not a lot of agents doing business out there. So I might not have a great option between these four. So if I just wanted to see if any of them wants this opportunity, instead of hitting new referral, I can hit broadcast referral. And when I hit broadcast referral, it's going to send that same referral agreement that we just walked through, but it will send it to all four of the agents in this current list. They'll all receive it. The first one to accept will be the one who gets the referral. So it's kind of like a jump ball situation where first one to grab it is the one who wins. I don't have any control over except for who's receiving it in this broadcast. And so the broadcast can be done with up to 50 agents. That's why I picked Hayes, because I knew it would be a place where there's not going to be a ton of agents. If I move this over to, say, let's go with Seattle, and I jump up to Seattle, there's going to be a lot more agents in the map. And you'll notice now the broadcast referral button is grayed out. It won't let me click it. And that's because there's 500 agents showing up here, and we cannot broadcast 500 people, a referral to 500 people. I have to get more dialed into my area, and you can see it tells you 184. Let's see if I get in a little bit closer. Doesn't seem to be enough yet because the limit is 50 people. And so I'm trying to get close enough in. Now we're at 44, which now you can see I can click this and it will send it to all 44 agents in this list for this referral opportunity. So again, it's a cool tool. I only use this tool for clients that are very cold to me. Right? If they just reach out to me off the internet or something and I have no relationship with them, I haven't done much work for them or with them, I might broadcast a referral. And the smaller the area where I have less choices, the more probable that it is that I'll use a broadcast, because when I only have 4 agents in Hayes, Kansas, well, I could just call all 4 and see if they're interested, or I could just start here and see if somebody's on it and wants to take this referral on through command. And so a nice tool to use. Like I said, the use cases are a lot more limited than the single referral use cases, at least in my world. Maybe in your world, in your business, this could be the tool that you were looking for that has been missing from your business to be able to broadcast referrals to more agents. But great tool. You now have that tool in your quiver of options to utilize inside of the referrals. All right, so we've gone through all the tools here. We've gone through our dashboard a little bit, which is just giving us the same information other pages are. We looked through my referrals. The map is where you're going to find the most value most often in this applet, is doing the research, finding agents inside of the map, utilizing the referral patterns inside here. But then also we have our network. And the last thing I wanted to say is about your network. Because the downside to the referrals app, at least for now, is that these agents only exist in my network in referrals, which you can maybe notice there's no way to check anybody off or do bulk actions in here. I don't have much opportunity to send Andy just an email. If I wanted to send Andy a newsletter about Denver to just keep him engaged with me, I can't do that through this screen. And so my last piece of the class is recommending that if you are really after this as a real strategy, connecting with people once does not create relationships. What creates relationships is consistent and frequent contact to build a relationship. And my suggestion is if you add an agent to your network, add them to your contacts database as well, and just make sure that they are tagged as agent or referral partner or agent referral partner, something that identifies this group so that A, you can filter them out of your normal client database touches, and B, you can filter for them just to find your list of agents, and then you can easily write a agent newsletter, or you can communicate to them with text messages through command or emails, or just remind yourself to call them. Quarterly call plans for other agents are that's the minimum I would say to do for another agent. Is just call them once a quarter, check in. How's business? How is life? Is everything good? Have you met anybody looking to move to Denver recently? No? Great. I'll make sure that if I talk to anybody moving to Atlanta, you're my guy, you're my person, right? And build those relationships, because the referrals applet is great for managing referrals when you have them, when you need to send them. It's not as great in terms of being able to communicate and build relationships with agents, but that's what contacts is for. And having contacts that are agents is not a problem at all, as long as you have them organized with tags so that you can easily filter them. You might even use some smart views to make this easier. And if any of those things sounds like, wow, Stephen, those all sound great, but I have no idea what you're talking about, I would forward you over to my contacts video that I just did. That's called Mastering Contacts. It's in the Foundations First series as well. That goes over how to do all of that stuff. There's only one disclaimer for that video. Y'all are going to see in the video, all of the bulk actions have a menu up here, which if you're looking at the screen now, is not there, because all those actions just move to the bottom of the screen down here. So if you do watch the contacts video, just know you're going to see the old version of command from about a month ago. And then they updated it and then moved all those options down to the bottom of the screen. So just know it's all the same options. They just moved. That's all. That's the only difference between the video and what you'll see in command right now, is just the menu moved from under the search bar to moving to the bottom of the screen for all these bulk actions. And so a little plug for one of my other classes. There are 7 other videos in that foundational series that are just all about the most important applets inside of command for you to master inside of your business. And so check out that other video. I'm always here to help with any of this. If you'd like to sit down for a one-on-one to go over any of this, I'm always happy to do that as well, as long as you're in one of my market centers. Always happy to do so. And finally, just a little request from me. Today we went over how to use it for research, target new agents, and then send and track your referrals. If you could take a moment today and share with me a little bit of an evaluation, what you thought of the class. Scan the QR code on the screen here, and it only takes about a minute to fill out the evaluation. You don't have to put your name in there. You don't have to do the video. It's only if you want to. I do read every bit of feedback that I get from these classes and utilize it to help make these classes better. So if you take a moment, scan the QR code and fill out that evaluation form. And while y'all are doing that, if you have any questions, I would love to answer them now. And any ahas. And ahas are the things that you're like, oh, I needed to hear that today, or oh, that's a great idea, or that's missing from my business. Or it could just be, I knew that and I needed to hear it again today. But I would love to hear any questions y'all have or any ahas. Feel free to use the chat as well to share either.
I really appreciated the breakdown of how to figure out where referrals are coming from,
Yeah.
because I had no idea you could do that.
Yeah,
So
the
that was
referral patterns is the coolest part of the referrals applet by far. It's so cool. I spend way too much time looking around at the data in there. Right on. Thank you for sharing, Katie. Anyone else?
I don't know if I have something specific, but I think all of it was wonderful. I didn't know any of this existed, so I'm gonna dive into it and look into it more and set it up. So
Love it, y'all. Oh, that's so great to hear. One
Yeah.
last one last aha or question that y'all have for me, and then I have, because we have a little extra time, I want to share a little next step with you guys as well, if there are no more ahas. And if you're seeing,
Stephen,
yeah,
sorry for interrupting you. Yes, thank you. I was actually going to ask you how to do this, so this was great to be
ah,
on here.
perfect, perfect. So let me give you all a little next step in kind of the vein of that last conversation I had about building relationships with agents. And if you come into the Smart Plans library in here and you search for me as the author, and you can just use my last name, it usually pulls me up pretty fast. But if you scroll through these, you are going to find a couple of agent to agent touches. So here's an A2A, if you just look for that. A2A intro. So these all require you to edit these smart plans. But like this one is a pretty involved introduction series to spend 110 days purposefully connecting with that other agent, sending them emails, phone calls. This is a full connection piece. You will need to edit some of the emails for your information, but most of it is done. And you can just hit add smart plan and get that plan in your account for you to edit. I also have a referral received, a newsletter template as well. That's just a simple email newsletter. You have to update the information in there, but it at least gives you an email template and a smart plan so that you can edit the template and then make copies through the future to send it at the frequency that you'd like. But I have just a couple of these extra little bonuses for y'all that you can check out, download in the smart plan library so that you can actually start making those connections. But again, you got to add them to your contact database to be able to utilize any of these smart plans. And so just a couple little extra bonus pieces from a class I taught previously. That was a little bit more, a little bit larger of a class. It was a 2-hour class we did a year ago. And so just wanted to share that with y'all. Thank you all so much for being here. If you didn't get that evaluation done, it's up on the screen one more time for y'all. We're going to be back next month in October with Command Your Goals to start the month. And then we will be getting into some Canva stuff next month as well. So be on the lookout for those invites. I will be here for one-on-ones for y'all. I'm always an email away. And one more, thank you again for joining. We'll see you all very soon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks,
Thanks y'all for
Stephen.
being here.